A mother and daughter vanish without a trace during what should have been a peaceful jungle excursion in Belize. No screams, no signs of struggle, only a backpack found hanging from a tree, its contents eerily untouched. For weeks, rescue teams combed the dense foliage, uncovering nothing but silence and speculation. Then 2 months later, a drone operator scanning the area for wildlife captures something chilling. A flash of red fabric, a shadow darting behind the trees, and a glimpse of what looked like a human hand waving, but the place it came from. No one should have survived there. It was early June when Elaine Matthews, a travel blogger from Colorado, decided to take a much-needed vacation with her 9-year-old daughter, Lily. After months of balancing work, parenting, and grief following her husband's sudden death, Elaine wanted to reconnect with her daughter and with herself. She chose a remote eco-tour in Belize, deep within the Maya Mountains, a week surrounded by nature, free from emails and screens. Just the two of them, together. The tour group consisted of 8 people: a newlywed couple from Sweden, 2 German backpackers, a solo British adventurer, and a retired American couple. The guide, Ernesto, was a local with a deep knowledge of the jungle. He spoke about the land with reverence, about spirits, the sacred caves, and the strange disappearances that, according to him, had haunted the region for decades. Most thought it was just part of the tour's charm. On the 3rd day of hiking, the group set up camp near a crystal-clear river where monkeys chattered in the canopy and parrots screeched from the branches above. Elaine and Lily had spent the day taking photos, splashing in the shallow water and collecting smooth stones to bring home. As the sun dipped low, Ernesto lit a fire, and everyone gathered for a shared dinner beneath the stars. Around 9 p.m., as the fire dimmed and the forest grew darker, Lily asked to use the bathroom, a spot behind a thicket of palms just 30 feet from the camp. Elaine stood to go with her, flashlight in hand. They disappeared into the trees together. 10 minutes passed, then 20. When they still hadn't returned, Ernesto called out. No response. A chill settled over the camp. Flashlights swept the area. The thicket revealed nothing. No footprints, no sound of movement, just the whisper of wind through dense, ancient leaves. By midnight, the group was panicked. They split up to search in pairs, shouting into the darkness. But the jungle swallowed their voices whole. At 2 a.m., Ernesto radioed for help. Search and rescue arrived by morning. Trained dogs, drones, local authorities. For 3 weeks, they searched every inch of the forest. They found only one thing: Lily's small red backpack hanging from a branch 18 feet off the ground, untouched. Inside were her sketchbook, a granola bar, and a photo of her and her mother taken that very morning. There was no blood, no struggle, no signs of animals, and no one could explain how that backpack got so high. Some said they'd fallen into a hidden cave. Others believed they'd been taken by traffickers or worse. But the forest remained silent, indifferent. The tour was cancelled. The company faced lawsuits, and Elaine and Lily Matthews were officially declared missing, but the jungle hadn't finished telling its story. Not yet. The day after Elaine and Lily vanished, the Belizean Forest Department launched a full-scale search and rescue operation. They brought in experts from neighboring countries, seasoned jungle trackers, ex-military survivalists, and indigenous guides who knew the terrain better than anyone. But from the very beginning, something felt wrong. First, there were no tracks. The soil was soft, damp, perfect for holding footprints, yet the path Elaine and Lily supposedly took showed nothing. No sign of their steps, not even broken leaves or disturbed branches, as if the jungle had swallowed them whole and sealed the ground behind them. Second, the silence. One searcher, Officer Manuel Rivas, later described it in his report. It was like stepping into a vacuum. No birds, no insects. You'd hear the crunch of your own boots and then Nothing, just the feeling that something was watching. The team combed through miles of forest, setting up temporary camps and rotating shifts. Drones were deployed, hovering above the tree canopy and dipping low into ravines. Helicopters scanned from above, using thermal imaging to detect any trace of human life. But after 11 days, they found nothing until day 12. At dawn, near the base of a limestone cliff, a ranger named Thomas Guevara discovered something unusual. A narrow trail of smooth stones arranged in a spiral, too deliberate to be natural. At the center lay a child's hair tie, pink plastic with a cartoon unicorn. Elaine's sister back in Colorado confirmed it was Lily's. That discovery reignited the search. The team focused on a 2-mile radius around the spiral, convinced the stones were a message, a cry for help. But the deeper they went, the stranger things became. Compass readings started fluctuating. GPS signals dropped randomly. 2 experienced searchers became separated from their group for over 6 hours, even though they were just half a mile from the main camp. When they returned, they looked shaken and exhausted, claiming they'd been walking in circles, hearing whispers in languages they couldn't identify. Reports of similar oddities piled up. Equipment malfunctioned. Radios picked up static, laced with what sounded like voices. One night, a drone operator named Jake Perry captured 16 seconds of footage showing a faint red shape moving quickly between trees. He believed it was a person, but when the footage was enhanced, the movement didn't match any known animal or human gait. It moved in jerks, almost glitch-like. The frame, just before the feed cut out, showed what looked like fingers curling around the edge of the camera lens from behind. But by then, morale was dropping fast. The search entered its 4th week with nothing but questions and growing fear. Volunteers began to drop out. The jungle, humid, hot, teeming with biting insects and venomous snakes, was taking a toll not only physically but mentally. People were beginning to say things aloud they'd previously whispered, that the jungle didn't want them there, that Elaine and Lily were never meant to be found. Still, some refused to give up. Elaine's sister, Rachel Matthews, flew to Belize and joined the base camp, speaking to media and begging for more international help. She walked for hours each day with local volunteers, calling her niece's name until her voice cracked. In an emotional video interview with Channel 9 Belize, Rachel said, "I don't believe my sister and niece just vanished. I think something is out there, something hiding them or holding them. I can feel it. I dream about them every night, standing in the trees, watching." After 27 days, the official search was scaled back. Resources were needed elsewhere. Rachel stayed for another 2 weeks with a local Maya guide named Silvio, who took her deeper into the forest than anyone else had gone. They reached a cave system that had been untouched for years, its entrance sealed by fallen trees and thick vines. What they found inside was baffling. A cluster of symbols carved into the rock, not Mayan, not any known language. And in the dirt, half buried under debris, was a page from Lily's sketchbook, water-stained, torn, but unmistakably hers. On it was a child's drawing of her mother standing next to her, both holding hands with a third figure, tall, faceless, and surrounded by trees. Rachel brought the page to the authorities, but no one could explain how it had traveled that far, over 6 miles from where Elaine and Lily were last seen. The area wasn't just inaccessible, it was considered cursed by local tribes, a place where, according to oral tradition, the forest chose who could enter and who could not. The government closed the site shortly after. Rachel returned to the US with a copy of the sketch and a heart still full of questions. Elaine and Lily were declared legally deceased 6 months later, but then, 61 days after their disappearance, everything changed. A freelance nature photographer named Caleb Ross was flying a drone over the region. documenting migratory birds for a wildlife foundation. It was early morning and mist still clung to the treetops. Reviewing his footage later, he noticed something odd, a flicker of color, movement that didn't match the wind or animal patterns. He zoomed in, frame by frame. There it was, a bright red cloth. Just for a second, fluttering behind thick foliage, then came the moment that stopped his heart. A hand, pale, thin, reaching from behind a tree, waving, slowly. He paused the video, enhanced it, studied it for hours. The location? Deep, inside a restricted section of the jungle, miles from any known path, exactly where no one should have survived. Caleb Ross didn't sleep that night. The footage from his drone looped endlessly on his laptop screen. The hand, the red cloth. It couldn't be a coincidence. He cross-referenced the GPS data from his drone's flight log. The coordinates landed in a densely forested region, known locally as El Silencio Verde, the green silence. It was a name given by locals not for poetic beauty, but because no birds sang there, no animals dared pass through, and according to whispers, those who ventured in often didn't return. Caleb contacted the local police first. They dismissed it, citing the area as off-limits and dangerous. "You probably filmed a monkey," one officer said. "Maybe an illusion caused by wind and light." But Caleb had grown up in the wilderness of Montana. He knew what wildlife looked like, what light could and couldn't do. So he went online. He uploaded a short clip, 30 seconds of the footage, on a survivalist forum under a pseudonym. He didn't mention the Matthews case directly, but within hours, people made the connection. The red cloth, the waving hand, and the proximity to the last known location of Elaine and Lily. The video went viral. Thousands watched. Some saw a desperate signal. Others claimed it was fake. But to one person, it was confirmation. Rachel Matthews. She'd never fully accepted the conclusion that her sister and niece were gone. She'd kept a digital folder with every map, clue, and image shared online. She'd made connections with former rescue workers, local guides, and even hired a retired cartographer to overlay drone data with ancient Mayan routes. And now, this footage, the location, the angle of the arm, the red fabric, matched what Lily had been wearing the day she vanished. Rachel booked a flight that same day. Within 72 hours, she was back in Belize. This time, she came with a team, 2 former search and rescue specialists from Costa Rica, a survivalist YouTuber who volunteered after seeing the footage, and Silvio, the Maya guide who had helped her before. Caleb joined them, providing the GPS coordinates and offering to fly the drone again over the area. They reached the edge of El Silencio Verde at dawn on a Wednesday. The air was heavy, almost unnaturally still. The forest floor, which was typically alive with insects and birdsong, lay eerily quiet. Even the wind seemed reluctant to pass through the tall, moss-draped trees. Silvio stopped them at the tree line. "If you enter," he said gravely, "you must not call their names, not loudly, and you must leave something behind, a part of yourself. That's the way to ask permission." No one laughed. Each of them left something on a stone at the forest's edge. Rachel, her necklace; Caleb, a piece of obsidian his father had given him; the others, whatever they carried that meant something. Then they entered. The first mile was slow. The undergrowth was thick. The drone couldn't fly beneath the canopy, and GPS signals faltered within minutes. They relied on compasses and old-fashioned markers carved into tree bark. Then around noon, Rachel spotted something, a ribbon, faded red, tied around a branch. It was old, frayed at the edges, but unmistakably a piece of fabric, just like the one Lily had in her hair the day she vanished. Minutes later, they found more. A child's sneaker, moss-covered but still intact. A carved walking stick they recognized from one of Elaine's travel blog photos. And then Footprints, small ones. They followed them to a steep ravine. At the bottom, shielded by thick vines, was the entrance to a cave. It wasn't marked on any map, but inside, the temperature dropped rapidly. The air was damp and the walls were covered in strange markings, symbols that didn't belong to any known culture. Rachel felt her hands tremble as she held her flashlight to the rock. One drawing stood out, a woman and child holding hands, surrounded by spirals. They descended deeper, careful not to slip. At the far end of the tunnel, they found something no one could explain, a room, natural, yet oddly symmetrical. In the center was a flat stone platform, and on it, 2 sleeping bags, one adult-sized, one child-sized. Next to them, food wrappers, plastic bottles, and most haunting of all, pages from Lily's sketchbook. New ones, dated only 2 weeks. Earlier, they were alive or had been very recently. Rachel collapsed to her knees. Tears streamed down her face. There were no bones, no blood, no signs of death, only signs of survival. The group searched for hours. Caleb launched the drone again from inside the cave, using the opening as a makeshift base. The camera fed live, footage to a tablet, scanning outward through the treetops. Then just before sunset, the drone caught movement. A figure, small, darting through the trees with surprising speed. It paused only once, long enough for the camera to capture a partial face. Lily, pale, thin, but alive. She looked directly into the lens, then disappeared behind the foliage. The team scrambled to pursue her trail. They called out gently, no shouting. They followed broken twigs, disturbed leaves, a path freshly made. But night fell quickly, and the jungle turned black. Silvio urged them to stop. "If you chase her now," he warned, "you may never return." They made camp nearby, torches burning low. That night, Rachel awoke to a sound, a soft whisper, a laugh, like a child's. She stepped out of the tent. There, not 10 feet away, was Lily, standing barefoot, wrapped in red cloth, watching her silently. She looked older somehow, wiser, changed. Rachel whispered her name. Lily tilted her head, then vanished into the trees once more, but she had left something behind. On the ground where she stood, a new drawing, 2 figures holding hands. One had Rachel's hair, the other had no face. The drawing haunted Rachel. She held it in her hands as the fire crackled behind her, the jungle still eerily silent. The sketch was unmistakably Lily's. Rachel recognized her niece's distinct, uneven lines and the way she always drew hands, with 5 perfect fingers. But the second figure in the picture, the one with no face, unsettled everyone. Silvio studied it for a long time before saying softly, "She is not alone. Something is with her." The group decided they couldn't wait any longer. At dawn, they would go deeper, trace the path Lily had taken and try to find her, hopefully bring her back. But they all agreed on one thing. If she was going to return, it had to be willingly. They couldn't chase her. They had to earn her trust. At first light, they packed up and followed the direction Lily had run. There was a clear path now, marked by small red ribbons tied to branches. Rachel realized that Lily, or someone, had been leaving them as a breadcrumb trail. Was it a trap or a guide? No one knew. An hour into the hike, Caleb spotted something unusual. Thin strands of what looked like silk strung between trees, but not from spiders. It was synthetic, like fishing line, but tied in intricate, almost ritualistic patterns. Beneath one of the webs, they found a pile of smooth stones arranged in the shape of a spiral, just like the one found during the original search weeks. As they moved on, the forest seemed to shift. The air thickened, sounds muffled. Rachel felt pressure in her ears, like descending in an airplane. Then they saw it, a clearing unlike any they had seen before. The trees gave way to a ring of ancient stones, standing upright in a perfect circle, covered in moss and vines. At the center, there was a small pool of water, perfectly still. reflecting the sky with unsettling clarity. And next to the pool, Lily. She was sitting cross-legged, her back turned to them, humming a soft tune. The red cloth draped over her. Shoulders billowed gently in the wind. Rachel stepped forward, tears already streaming down her face. "Lily," she whispered. The girl turned slowly. It was her. Pale, thinner, her hair longer and tangled, her cheeks hollow, but her eyes were bright, alert. She didn't run. She simply watched them. Rachel approached cautiously. "Sweetheart, it's me, it's Aunt Rachel. I'm here to take you home." Lily tilted her head. "I know," she said quietly. Her voice was strange, familiar but somehow distant. "You came because the jungle let you." Rachel knelt beside her. "Where's your mom? Where's Elaine?" Lily didn't answer right away. She looked at the still pool, then back at Rachel. "She's here, but not like before." Before Rachel could ask what that meant, the wind shifted and the jungle around them seemed to breathe. Caleb, standing just outside the stone circle, stepped back. "We need to be careful," he said. "This place, it's not just trees and dirt." Then Lily said something that made everyone freeze. "He wants to see you." "Who?" Rachel asked, her voice barely audible. Lily raised her hand and pointed to the forest. "The one who kept us safe. The one who lives between the trees. He doesn't speak with words, but he listens. He watched over us." Rachel tried to press for more, but Lily stood and began walking toward the far edge of the clearing. The others followed in silence. The path led to another cave entrance, this one much larger than the last. Vines draped its mouth like a curtain, and a low hum pulsed from within, like a deep vibration in the earth itself. They entered. Inside, the air was cold. The walls glistened with moisture. Strange carvings, more abstract than symbolic, lined the stone, glowing faintly as if reacting to their presence. They walked for minutes that felt like hours, until the passage opened into a chamber bathed in a natural blue light coming from cracks in the ceiling above. There, on a stone slab at the center of the chamber, lay Elaine, alive. Her eyes were closed, her breathing slow but steady. Her hands were folded over her chest, and her skin had a bluish tint, like someone in suspended animation. Rachel rushed to her side, calling her name. Lily placed a hand on her aunt's shoulder. "She's resting," she said. "He kept her safe when she got sick. He helped me find food. He showed me how to draw messages, but she's tired now." Rachel looked around, overwhelmed. "Who is he, Lily?" But Lily only shook her head. "He's part of the jungle. He doesn't have a name. He just is." Silvio stepped forward slowly, whispering a prayer. "I've heard the elders speak of this. A guardian, an old spirit that protects the forest and the children who honor it." Rachel checked Elaine's pulse, faint but present. "We have to get her out. She needs help." Lily didn't move. "If you take her before she's ready, she won't survive." The team faced a horrible decision. Wait for Elaine to wake, or try to carry her back through hostile terrain, miles from any help. In the end, they stayed 2 more days. Each day, the jungle remained silent, but not threatening. Caleb set up camp just outside the cave. They rationed supplies. Lily slowly began acting more like a child again, laughing softly, asking for snacks, drawing with Rachel. On the 3rd morning, Elaine woke. Her first words, "Lily, is she safe?" Rachel held her as tears spilled down her cheeks. "Yes, she's okay. We're all okay." Elaine was weak, dehydrated, and needed urgent care. They fashioned a stretcher and began the long journey back. This time, the jungle didn't resist. Birds returned to the trees. Insects buzzed. A soft breeze guided them forward. 3 days later, they emerged from the forest, exhausted, sunburned, but alive. The world watched in awe as the story unfolded. A mother and daughter missing for 2 months, found alive deep in the untouched wilderness. A rescue mission led not by force, but by reverence. Elaine spent weeks in recovery. Lily was monitored by psychologists and doctors, but neither ever spoke in full detail about what happened in the forest, what they saw, or who they met. Only once, during a quiet moment in the hospital, did Lily whisper to Rachel, "He let us go, because you came with love." 3 months had passed since Elaine and Lily were brought out of the jungle, and still the questions hadn't stopped. Why did they survive when so many others hadn't? Who or what had kept them alive? And why did Lily's drawings depict not just shapes and spirals, but eyes watching from trees, and a tall, faceless figure? Elaine granted only one public interview. In it, she described the early days after getting lost, the rainstorms, the hunger, the disorientation. But then, her voice faltered when she spoke of what came next. "There were moments," she said, "where I felt like we weren't alone, not in a threatening way, more like someone was waiting." When pressed, she simply added, "We were protected. I don't know by who or what, but something in that jungle chose not to let us die." The media jumped on her words, sparking everything from conspiracy theories to documentaries. Some said it was a hidden tribe, others claimed it was a cryptid or an ancient forest spirit, but only a handful believed the possibility that lingered quietly beneath it all, that something supernatural had intervened. Rachel, however, didn't care for speculation. What mattered to her was that her sister and niece were home. And yet, even in their home, things weren't quite the same. Lily no longer slept through the night. Sometimes Rachel would find her sitting by the window, staring at the trees in the backyard. Other times, Lily would wake up with her sketchbook, full of strange new drawings, shapes inside shapes, forest inside eyes, and that faceless figure, always tall, always near. "I miss the quiet," she once whispered. Elaine, too, had changed. She no longer kept her phone on. She stopped blogging. At times, she would simply sit in silence for hours, fingers tracing the shape of that spiral symbol she claimed she couldn't remember learning. When asked about it, she would just smile faintly and say, "It feels like something older than words," but something else had begun to unravel beneath the surface. Caleb had returned to Belize 1 month after the rescue. He couldn't shake the feeling that they had missed something in the forest. He revisited the cave with Silvio, who agreed to guide him again under the condition that they bring offerings, just as before. But when they arrived, they found the stone circle completely overgrown. The cave was no longer there, or at least its entrance was gone. The vines were too thick, the rock face solid. It was as if the jungle had closed itself. Back home, Caleb analyzed the drone footage again, frame by frame, pixel by pixel, and in one particular moment, just before Lily vanished into the trees, he saw something he hadn't noticed before, a second figure, blurred, tall, with elongated limbs, standing behind her, almost camouflaged with the trees. It didn't move, it didn't follow, but it was there. He showed Rachel. She stared at it for a long time, her heart pounding in her chest. "That's the one from her drawings," she whispered. Still, the image was too vague to be definitive. To the world, it could have been a shadow, a trick of light, a glitch. But Rachel knew better. She began to dig through old folklore, Maya legends, jungle myths. She connected with archaeologists, anthropologists, even shamans. Most dismissed her, but one responded. A woman named Itzel, a descendant of the Lakandan Maya, who claimed to know the story Rachel was chasing. They met in person. Itzel brought with her a weathered leather journal, bound with vines and age. Inside were symbols, the spirals, the webs, and the tall figure with no face. Itzel called him El Guardian Sin Rostro, the faceless guardian. "He is not evil," she explained, "but he is old, older than the trees, older than memory. He watches those who enter his home. If your heart is violent, he will turn the jungle against you. If your heart is pure, he may allow you to stay. But you must give something of yourself, always. Rachel asked what it meant that Lily and Elaine were allowed to leave. Itzel was quiet for a long time before answering. Sometimes he lets people go, because they carry him with them now. Those words echoed in Rachel's mind for days. It would explain the changes. The silence in Lily's eyes, the way she listened to the wind like it spoke secrets, the spiral she traced absent-mindedly at dinner, as if some small part of the jungle had followed her home. Rachel didn't tell Elaine. She didn't want to spark panic or dread. Instead, she decided to wait. Watch. Let time unfold. But then, something unexpected happened. One evening, Rachel came home to find Lily gone. Her window was open, her red ribbon tied to the latch. Panic gripped her. Police were called, search teams formed. But Lily wasn't in danger, not in the way anyone expected. 2 days later, Rachel found her. Not in the city, not even in the countryside. She was at the forest preserve near their home, sitting beneath a cluster of old pine trees, sketching. Lily looked up as Rachel approached. She smiled. "He just wanted to see if I was okay." Rachel sat beside her. "Who?" "The one in the trees," Lily said. "He's not gone, just watching." Rachel looked at her niece, calm, thoughtful, distant, and realized something profound. Lily wasn't afraid. Changed, yes, but not broken. She had been marked by something ancient, something wild, but it hadn't destroyed her. It had reshaped her, given her something no one else could understand. Wisdom, or perhaps memory. As Rachel embraced her niece under the rustling trees, she knew one truth above all. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Some guardians aren't meant to be seen. And some forests don't just keep people out. They invite in the ones they choose.